Hi guys, welcome to our channel. If you're new here or if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm Emmy. I'm one of the 4 members of the Crazy Bookish Asians, and for today I thought I'd talk about 3 popular books that I hate. So hate is probably too much of a strong word, but anyways, these are books I didn't like. And just as a disclaimer, me hating these books literally doesn't mean anything. As with anything creative, someone liking or hating a book is really, it's all very subjective, right? So me like not liking something literally does not mean anything. If you love these books, that's amazing, and if you don't love these books, that's amazing as well. You know, you're not alone then. But yeah, as someone who draws and paints, I know firsthand what it's like for someone to not to hate your work, and also for someone to love your work. And you know, that's just, at the end of the day, right, it's just opinion. So that's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, so to start off, I'm gonna start off with 2 honorable mentions, because these are books that we actually just discussed recently on our book club, and I'm gonna link below to the 2 videos that discuss these books. And the first one, the first book that I really hated, that seems really popular and in the booktube world, is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. And the second one is King of Wrath, I think that's the title, by Huang. So those 2 books, I just did not like them. I did not like both the female and male protagonists. So in terms of writing style, I didn't mind this book. It's just I didn't really like the characters. So that's about it. So so now we're on to the 3 popular books, right? And yeah, when I say popular, I mean like on the social media world, you know, in Book Talk, BookTube, Bookstagram. Because actually the 2 books I will mention, I heard from BookTube, because I follow a lot of booktubers and they really love these 2 books. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is more of a classic. So that one, it's a book that everyone knows. So and everyone seemed to really just fawn over this book, and I just didn't like it. So the first one I'm going to discuss is actually okay, it's Icebreaker by Hanya Grace. So I've never read a sports romance, so I thought, you know what, let me start off with a hockey romance, because I'm Canadian. Canada's big. I like hockey is big in Canada. So I thought, yes, that'll be a good way to start off my venture into sports romance. And I follow a booktuber that seemed to really love this book, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a shot. Let me tell you guys, by the 23rd percent of the book, I just couldn't, I couldn't take it. I DNF'd the book. So, and before anyone says, oh, you have to go on with this book, it'll get better, it's actually a book that I don't even really care if it gets any better. It was literally making me angry reading this book, just from the get-go. First of all, the main characters, the book starts off with the main characters sleeping with other people, which is fine. But for me, reading romance, even though I know, I'm not into to protagonists or innocent or whatever. Of course they all have their past, right? But I don't want to start off a romance book with both the female and the male protagonist sleeping with other people right away, from the first chapter. I just thought, so I'm like, okay, that's okay. But then the girl in this book, I can't even remember her name. I think I just blocked it off my memory. At one point she got so mad at the guy who at that point she didn't even really know, because he lied about Okay, so oh my god, I should talk about the premise first, right? Okay, so the girl is an ice skater, and then the guy's a hockey player. They're both in university, and then what ended up happening was they were forced to share the same rink because something happened with the rink where the hockey players practice. So that's the gist of it, I guess, and that's how they got to know each other. So from the get-go, I think the guy was trying to make an effort to really be nice to the girl, and then they were in a party. The guy ended up lying something to protect a player in his team, and then the girl got so mad, and I'm like, why? Like, he doesn't owe you anything. Like, you guys don't even really know each other. Anyways, after that, I just kind of, I don't even remember what part I stopped. I think they were in a bar somewhere and she was trying to flirt with one of the other players. I think that's where I just like, you know what, there's no way I'm gonna like this book. It was actually physically making me angry. Like, I was getting migraines every time I started reading it. So yeah, I didn't have to, thank God I just borrowed it from the library, so I didn't have to pay any money for it. So yeah, yes. Okay, I think I need a break from that. Let me get a drink of water. Okay, the second book I'm gonna talk about is A Little Life by Hanya Yanigahara. This one actually, it breaks my heart to really say this about this book because first of all, I've seen a lot of interviews with the author, and she is just she's so charming, she's so eloquent when talking about the books, and really it's hard not to like her when you see or when you hear her speak, because she's so, like, you can tell she's passionate about, you know, about writing, and she's very smart, like, you know, I mean, just really very charming, right? So but okay, and I know a lot of people love this book, and I totally understand because it is a beautifully written book. It's about 4 friends in New York, and just starting off with I think it went to the background of all the characters. The one I remember the most is the main character, Jude, because not only is he the main protagonist, but he was the one who really went through a lot in terms of tragedies upon tragedies in his life. And I talked about in my other video when I was discussing Jude The Obscure, how I think Hanya Yanigahara was probably inspired by Jude The Obscure, because in that book, you know, I'll link to that video below as well. That's when I talk about the books that inspired Saltburn. Anyways, Jude The Obscure talks about Jude and also all the tragedies he's experienced in his life, one after another. Just when you think things are going well, then something bad happens, right? And the Jude here really is it's pretty much like more tragic, not obviously, because if you haven't read this book, but anyways, yeah. So the reason I did not like this book is I just thought well, also a lot of the scenes, okay, oh my god, okay, so I'm having a hard time talking about this book. Okay, I did love the writing of this book, and I will read you an excerpt, right? And this is from the beginning, where I think, for me anyway, most of the really good parts happen. Let me see, let me pick something. Okay, here is Willem, one of the main characters. Willem talking about his brother Hemming, who just died, right? Listen to this, it's so beautiful. Where do I start? Okay. He didn't care if they really felt that way or not. This is Willem talking about his parents, right? Because he felt that they didn't really care about Hemming too much, I guess. I can't remember exactly, but anyways, just listen to this. He just needed them to say it. He needed to feel that something lay beneath their imperturbable calm. Oh my god, I'm sorry. That somewhere within them ran a thin stream of quick, cool water, teeming with delicate lives, minnows and grasses, and tiny white flowers, all tender and easily wounded, and so vulnerable you couldn't see them without aching for them. just, you know, like the whole book actually is very beautifully written, but after a certain point it became really kind of repetitive, especially talking about the tragedies. Especially there was a really harsh part when Jude was going through all the SA from different people, and it was so it just went on for so long. And also, I think my biggest problem with this book is that I found the ending very manipulative in terms of just the feeling that the author wanted to get out of the reader. I find like she just really wanted to elicit that kind of sadness that it almost felt like, I don't know how to describe it, but it almost felt like hacky. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Should I give spoilers? Anyways, okay, there will be a spoiler. This is a spoiler now. So Jude and Willem in the end became a couple, and you could see the progression of the relationship going, like, you know, how it would end up eventually like that, right? And the thing is, as soon as everything started going well, you know, the author's gonna do something really bad just because it was too happy, like what Jude was going through. So I mean, when Willem died in that car accident, after, you know, like they just established, like, you know, the whole situation with Jude and him, like, you know, they were a happy couple, right? By that point, I felt just I don't know, I felt kind of cheated almost. I'm like, you know, you kind of see it coming, but at the same time it's like, oh, like you felt manipulated. Like I'm just like every other reader of this book. I cried my eyes out when that happened, but I was like, I felt angry at the same time, because I'm like, dang, you know, like, oh, I don't know how to describe it, but I just didn't like it. Yeah, well, I hated it. Okay, honestly. And I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but if you see this video and you kind of know what I'm talking about, please comment so that I know I'm not alone, because I know like 90% of the people who read this book, they really love it. So, and those are the people I kind of follow on booktube. So I felt kind of like, oh my god, I'm going crazy because I really didn't like it. Like I just thought, oh yeah, like oh, I don't know, it was almost too melodramatic. Yeah, like I just didn't like that. So, but otherwise the book was really so well written, but yeah, I just couldn't get over that part, because even the boring parts. And there's also another complaint I have about this book, is that the way it talked about self-harm, the author talked about it so much, it's almost like romanticizing it, which I know is not what she intended. But the way she was describing how Jude was feeling when he was doing it, how cathartic, and it was like, oh, like, you know, she's making it sound good almost. And I'm like, no, because I mean, you know, I know people who self-harms, unfortunately, and it's just no. Anyways, so yeah. And now on to the last book that I really hated. And this one is it's another one of those things that, oh, I feel really bad not liking this book. But it is Lolita. Oh my gosh, Lolita. Okay, so Lolita I've had on my TBR, I think, for a long time. And when I say long, like since I was in school, like in university, and that's like literally eons ago. So finally, like last year, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finally read this book, because I read My Dark Vanessa, which was related to Lolita, right? Like the main character in My Dark Vanessa kind of went through what Lolita did in terms of the whole relationship with an older person. And I love My Dark Vanessa. I gave that book 5 stars. So well written. I'm like, okay, you know what? If I love My Dark Vanessa, I'm sure I'm gonna love Lolita. And I wanted to read it for a long time. So I finally read it. Oh my gosh. I kind of wish actually I read it in school, just so that someone can explain to me why this book was considered such a great work of literature. Okay, so first of all, like I actually thought there's no way, like, people thought that this, people who actually read this book thought that this was erotica. It is not. It is not erotica at all, which is good. And I actually thought it was a satire, because especially the first part, I actually thought this book was freaking hilarious because of all the stuff that happened with the protagonist, Humbert. It was just one tragic thing after another. And even on my Goodreads review, I wrote that it reminded me a lot of the Confederacy of Dunces. Is that the book? Yeah, because it's just so, it's almost so stupid, like all these bad things happening one after each other, and it's like, oh my god, like just from the beginning when he fell in love with a, like when he was a kid, he was a adolescent, he fell in love with a friend, and then the friend died, and then he ended up marrying someone who ended up cheating on him with a Russian taxi driver, who I thought was so hilarious. That part, I was like literally laughing out loud. And then when he got to America, and then he ended up the house where he ended up staying, which was owned by Charlotte and the daughter, oh no, something else. I think the house that he was supposed to stay in originally burned down, so he ended up staying with Charlotte and her daughter Dolores. And then when Charlotte ended up dying, okay, a lot of spoilers for Tor. So I thought it was just so funny. I was like, why do people think this is erotica, right? So, but that's not my, like, I actually like those sequences in the novel. But what really made me angry and really hate this book is just the writing style itself. I will just let you guys know offhand, like firsthand. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, I just want to let you know that I'm a big fan of like terse writing, like Hemingway, you know, like J.D. Salinger. Like, it's just like blah 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 blah, like you write the cat, you know, it's raining outside, blah blah blah. And Lolita is totally the opposite of that. Not only is it flowery, it's so, like, I don't mind flowery writing, but the writing is just so pretentious. And I know it's Humbert's character because, you know, like the way he sees himself, but let me read to you a section just to let you guys know. There's like a lot of Latin and French and like, which is okay, but it was just like the way it was used. Okay, what part should I read here? This is on the part where Lolita and Humbert were going around the States after the mom died, and Humbert has Lolita with him. So now they're traveling all over the place, and this is a part, chapter 2 of part 2. Now, in perusing what follows, the reader should bear in mind not only the general circuit as unumbrated above, with its many side trips and tourist traps, secondary circles, and skittish deviations, but also the fact that, far from being an indolent partie de plaisir, our tour was a hard, twisted, teleological growth whose sole raison d'etre, these French cliches are symptomatic, was to keep my companion in passable humor from kiss to kiss. Just like stupid stuff like that. And there's like, oh my gosh, there's another one. There's actually the whole book, it's pretty much like that. Just like, and you're like, what? And like talking about like the most mundane stuff like that. It's like, you know, like Lolita playing tennis and blah blah blah, which, I mean, it's okay, but at the same time, when it's described in such excruciating, pretentious language, it just gets to you. It did me anyway. I'm looking for other parts. We came to know, nous connûmes, to use a Flaubertian intonation, the stone cottages under enormous Chateaubriand trees, the brick unit, the adobe unit, the stucco court, and what the tour book of the Automobile Association described as shaded or spacious or landscape grounds, blah blah blah. Anyways, yeah, so I know, like I said before, that it's Humbert's character, it's supposed to be like that, but oh my gosh, it's just, I felt like there could have been a different way to portray his character without going into that kind of writing. I don't know. I know people who are watching this who love the book probably like, you know what, you're just so stupid to understand this book, and you're probably right. But this is just my opinion, because I really had such high expectations of this book. So me hating it at the end, it was just, it almost broke my heart, because I was like, oh, Nabokov, finally, right? Like, you know, after I read this, I'm gonna read his other work. But it just totally turned me off. So that is it. I think I'm so emotionally drained right now. Anyways, thank you if you have made it this far. And like I said, like, me hating this book literally doesn't mean anything. It's just, I just want to share it with you, whoever you are. If you're watching this, thank you so much, and please let me know if you like this book or you hate this book. And I'm always up for a conversation with books, like whether you love something that I love, you love something that I hate, or vice versa, you know, because I feel like that's how you really connect with people, you know. Like, you just don't want to talk to people who share your likes, right, or dislikes. So it's you know, it's also good to hear some debate about it. Then that's why, you know, our book club, it's kind of good like that, because you'll hear like both sides of, like, someone who loved the book and someone who hated it. So all right, and that is it, I think. As always, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace out.